I tire of the constant lies and manipulation that is used by people who want to bend tragedy towards political ends to no end. I tire of it. They did this with Trayvon Martin when they lied into that Trayvon Martin was just an innocent bystander walking along in his community at night and he was killed for that fact. When in all reality, we know that Trayvon Martin was attacking George Zimmerman and was on him, attacking him, ground and pounding him as it was put in the trial before he was shot. This is Michael Brown. They said that Michael Brown was just an innocent trespasser who was killed by a cop when we know that Michael Brown was actually assaulting the cop. They have done this. They, being the corporate press and their allies in the political world, have done this time and time and time and time again. And Jordan Neely is the latest example of it. And to be quite frank with you people, I'm so tired. I'm tired of waking up and seeing on my phone, black man killed by person with no context, and then seeing the feigned outrage from the politicians and the race industrial complex, the NAACP, and other people who literally thrive off of grievance, who literally thrive off of these incidences, using this to drum up a narrative. I am so tired of it. Because what it does is it not only does it pit Americans against each other, which is already, something that's happening in general, but it creates this false standard of knowledge, which is the deeper problem that no one talks about. We always talk about a damn narrative. The narrative this, the narrative that, but what about the standard of knowledge that allows the narrative to exist in the first place? When the corporate press and their allies in the political world try to blame every interracial killing, a white person killing a black person or whatever, on racism, it creates this false standard of knowledge that becomes embedded in the psyche of so many people in America, and then creates a false pretense for policies that would not only not work, but would be injurious to the American Republic and our foundational principles. It would be injurious to true justice if these policies were to be implemented. And that standard of knowledge is quite simple. It trains you to view these issues on the basis of emotional trigger words and not to actually consider them with any rational thought. So whenever a white person kills a black person or whatever, you are immediately expected under this false standard of knowledge to be outraged, to have some kind of guttural feeling in your gut that moves you towards a particular position in that debate, as opposed to being someone who can, with a calm head, actually consider matters in a diligent way and rationally cipher through them. And this false standard of knowledge is what I think has created the divide in our country on this issue and many other issues. For those of you, I just ran there. For those of you who do not know, Jordan Neely was a homeless man who oftentimes, according to reports, terrorized the New York subway system, which has a bunch of problems. And during the time when he was apprehended and put in a chokehold, which eventually, according to the medical examiner's report, had some role in his death, he was put in a chokehold for 15 minutes by a veteran. He was throwing garbage and assailing passengers on the subway train before he was put in a chokehold. Now, immediately after this incident happened, you had politicians like AOC coming out and saying that this was a lynching, this was a murder. You had people like Ayanna Pressley posting pictures of Neely, who oftentimes dressed like Michael Jackson, dancing in the street and saying that this person deserved to live to be an old man. You have so many different people, the NAACP, Black Lives Matter, coming out and just attacking the person who acted against someone who was very clearly acting erratically. And let me say this very clearly. No one deserves to die because they are acting erratically. I do not take joy in the death of Jordan Neely. In fact, I think that it is a tragedy. No. A travesty that his family has come out and is now oh so concerned about his death when all those years he's been homeless, since 2008 or something like that. All the years he's been homeless, they have done absolutely nothing to help him. Absolutely nothing to bring him out there. Absolutely nothing from what I can see. So hold on. If you're going to get mad that he was killed because of his erratic behavior, and his family knew, according to reports, that he was schizophrenic, that he had major depressive disorder, and that he had behaved in certain ways. He assaulted a 67-year-old woman and had been to jail 42 times for violent crimes and other crimes. If you knew this, why didn't you intervene before it got to this point? Once again, it goes back to this false standard of knowledge that so many of us have. The truth is, I was not there when this incident happened. I don't know exactly what happened. I know what passengers say on the subway. I know what the confirmed evidence says. I know what Jordan Neely's background says. And all of it points to the broader problem that occurs in New York City, the rise in violent crime and the rise in homelessness crime on the subways and other areas that has made urban areas like New York City, almost uninhabitable at certain areas of the day and time and in certain places. I know about that. And I also know that that is largely due to this false idea of distributive justice that has come from the annals of progressive prosecutors and their false legal theories, which does not comport with the fundamental idea of justice and the rule of just law, not the rule of law, the rule of just law that the American system is predicated upon. I know that. And I also know that there are people in the media right now trying to run apologia for Jordan Neely by putting him against the backdrop of homelessness. Here's a story from the New Yorker, which is this is one of the most intellectually bankrupt magazines in the history of this country. I thought BuzzFeed was bad. I thought Vice was bad. I thought the New Republic, those people, those secondhand dealers who are just terrible, who do not give charity to their ideological opponents, who have this veneer of intellectualism that is hidden beneath their inferior ideas. I thought they were bad. No, the New Yorker takes the cake. The article says this: Jordan Neely's death and a critical moment in the homelessness crisis. You see, this is how people who have no conception of individual action, individual behavior in the context of the human person, this is how they evaluate information. What do I mean when I just said? What I mean is that if you have a progressive worldview, or if you have a worldview that does not see man as a wholly constituted, single, indivisible unit within themselves, as a fully realized human being who possesses personal responsibility and who also possesses dominion over his actions, you can therefore put man in the context of these broader forces and ideas, and then use those forces and ideas to explain his behavior, as opposed to looking at his own behavior. You see, it's this sort of systematic view of man and nature as opposed to a more individual view of man and nature, the latter of which is based on sound reasoning and a priori principles and empirical data. People are not a part of a hive mind. People are not a part of this one mass group. People are not determined by systems. Our behavior is not determined by systems. Our behavior is determined by us. It can be influenced by things, yes, but it is fundamentally determined by us as a conscious act of the will, except in those few cases where our control over the will is not so because of significant issues with our physiology, but that's a different case. And so, but this view of man is confirmed by the evidence, but the other one says no. Man is a tool and is used and directed by genes, atoms, political power, systems. And that's the rot that has come to exemplify so much analysis of these issues. This article goes on to say, I'll read the first paragraph. These days, online outrage is largely an exercise in film study and pattern recognition. Earlier this week, a video made its way around the press and social media showing the death of Jordan Neely, a 30-year-old homeless street performer, on Monday at the hands of a man whom the New York Post described as a blonde and Marine veteran. The footage, which shows Neely losing consciousness in a prolonged chokehold and then flopping lifeless on the floor in a subway car, is horrifying, but it should not be seen as extraordinary or unusual. Watch this. Last July, one assailant stabbed 3 homeless men he found in New York City. Just a few months before these incidents, a 30-year-old man, Gerald Brevard III, shot 5 homeless people in Washington, D.C. and New York City, killing 2. These acts of violence did not inspire the same response from activists who this past Wednesday protested at the Broadway Lafayette subway station where Neely died, or from politicians such as AOC, who on Wednesday tweeted Jordan Neely was murdered. Okay. Stop right there. You see what they did? As opposed to considering the whole scope of this incident, the New Yorker immediately jumped to the idea that this was simply an act of violence, unjust violence, perpetuated against a homeless person, and it should be viewed in that context. Do you see how the systematic view of man, as opposed to the individual view of man, leads you not only to erroneous conclusions, but to conclusions that fundamentally besmirch any sense of factual basis? Do you see? Because the standard of knowledge in our society has been so torn down and degraded by this unholy marriage between the political class and the corporate media. And so many of us cannot see that. And those of you who do see it need to stand up and speak out against it. Those of you who do see it, not just Black Americans. Look, Black Americans have been getting lied to and attacked and maligned by progressivism for a very long time. In fact, progressivism is actually a fundamentally racist ideology. Look at Woodrow Wilson. Look at all the other people in the progressive era who were completely and utterly against the idea of human equality, not just on a level concerning Black folks, but on a fundamental level. Look at all these different things. Forget that, though. If you are an American and you care about the progression and preservation of our culture, and you care about the preservation of truth in our society, without which no society can coherently operate, and you care sincerely about open and honest debate which built this country, and you care sincerely about understanding the nuances of these issues, if you are an American, you have a moral duty to confront shit like this and to call it out where it is, because guess what? I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired. I'm losing my voice and I'm getting tired. On this channel, I set a very high standard for myself and everyone who listens. And that is, I will give you philosophy as best as I can. I will give you a rational take as best as I can. And I will do my best to root my opinions in fact as best as I can. I make mistakes. I screw up sometimes. But I would never, ever, ever manipulate you by ignoring evidence or trying to twist evidence to fit my own viewpoint to serve a political end. And I would never use someone's death as a political football, which demonstrates the fact that so many leftists see man not as an end in himself, as Kant would say, but as a means to an end. A means to an end. Every dead Black man that has gotten national attention in the past 10, 12 years has been used as a means to an end by the corporate media industrial complex, by the political media industrial complex, by people who claim to do good, by people who claim to do benevolence, by pushing for social justice, by all these people. It has been used by Benjamin Crump, by all these people. It has been used as a means to an end. And what is their end? Their end is in America, where we view man not as an individual, but as a product of systems. Their end is in America, where identity matters more than individual achievement and merit. Their end is in America, this sort of racial collectivist mindset, which blinds all of us to the light of truth and leaves us in this dark cave of darkness, which does not actually help us fix issues that have indeed been happening since this country's foundation. They believe in an America that is fundamentally foreign to any sense, any rational sense of what America should be and what America is. And guess what? I'll be damned if I let them get their way by continuing to lie and continuing to pervert these issues as they have done so since I was a little boy. Trayvon Martin happened when I was like 10 or 12, God's sakes. Michael Brown happened when I was like 14, for God's sakes. I have my entire fucking lifetime, I have been growing up and seeing this stuff happen. I have been growing up and seeing people being manipulated on the basis of people who were killed. My entire lifetime, I have been seeing this stuff. It's time for this to end. I don't take joy in Jordan Neely's death. I don't take joy in Jordan Neely's death. I wish he would have gotten the help he needed. But I also don't take joy in the massacre of truth and foundational reasoning in this society. I don't take joy in the utter manipulation that happens from these people like the NAACP and AOC and other folks who don't believe, who don't actually believe in what America truly is. They believe in their own version of America they want to materialize through political action. I don't take joy in what they have been doing to the political discourse in this country, inflaming it, making folks hate each other by manipulation. I don't take joy. And it is incumbent upon all of us to stand up and speak out against it. And it's incumbent upon all of us to say no, no more, no more. My friends, that's all I have to say. If you like this video, be sure to like this channel, subscribe to this video, like this video, comment on this video, share this video, go to my locals, christianwatson.locals.com, go to my Patreon, which is going to be also in the comment section down below, join my Discord, be a part of my pensive community. My friends, I love you guys so much. Stay inspired, stay vigilant, and most importantly, please stay pensive. Bye, guys.